What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Joe at Odyssey Off-Road. So this video here is kind of going to be my overall impressions of the 250F after owning it for a couple of months. Um, riding it several times now, and if I think that was a good purchase, if I should have bought something else from the get-go, kind of what I'm thinking moving forward. So let's start with the bike here. It has been flawless. I mean, obviously, there's not that many hours on it, just shy of 10 hours. So it's been flawless, though. I changed oil twice. Starts up, warm it up for a minute or two, and you're off and running. It's a really easy motorcycle to ride. For somebody like me, who had zero motorcycle experience, I never even rode a street bike prior to purchasing this. It has been the perfect bike for me to learn how to ride on two wheels. So I think it's a really good motorcycle. There's very few flaws if you know what you're getting going into it. So if you're buying it with the expectation that it's going to be really fast, and it's going to have ridiculous amounts of suspension travel, and you're going to be able to ride like a motocross bike, well, then you're going to be disappointed, because that's not what this is. I see a lot of comments on other YouTube videos about, how they have one, and it's a slug, and it's so slow, and yada yada yada. And yeah, it's not that fast of a bike. It's not going to get you in trouble. It's very docile. That being said, it's got very good low-end grunt in terms of not stalling. Like, you can pretty much idle this thing in first gear and not touch the throttle, and it won't stall. It'll just keep chugging. So it's really good in that regard, and that's what makes it so easy to ride. You don't get a lot of flame out. It doesn't stall on you. It's not like the race bikes are going to be different. They're gonna be needing to use the clutch more. You're gonna have to ride them faster. These like to be ridden slow, and that's what they're for. They're for trail riding, slow trail riding. They're not for aggressive riding, and they're not for somebody who's looking to do big jumps and stuff like that. It's a trail bike, and that's how Honda advertises it and sells it. You're getting about 20 horsepower, air-cooled 250 motor, 5-speed tranny, and I tell you, for learning how to ride a dirt bike, I have zero complaints. This thing is awesome, and if all you want to do is slow cruise trails and explore, and not get that spunky with it, it's the perfect bike. And it's very playful in a lot of ways, but it's not fast. It's it is what it is. It's built for what it's built for, and don't expect anything more out of it than what it is, because that's all you're going to get. Now, that being said, is there some hop-ups you can do to it and make it a little bit better? Sure. There's a couple small things you can do to the front forks. These aren't traditional inverted forks. These are like your old school forks, and even in the sense that they even hang down past the front hub. That's the only thing I don't like about them, really. If I had one complaint about it, you lose a lot of ground clearance if you're going through some ruts and stuff like that. The bottom of the fork is pretty susceptible to getting hit with something. So there are companies that make some guards there for that, and I would recommend that if you're riding in some gnarly stuff or deep ruts and stuff like that regularly, because that is pretty susceptible. The stock pegs were absolute garbage. Worst pegs of any motorcycle I've seen. I've never ridden a lot of motorcycles, like I've already said, but just sitting on them and looking at different bikes, I mean, you can see plain as day. The pegs on this thing were like the pegs for a children's bike. They were so small. They were half the size of what I have on there now. So these are some billet pegs I got off Amazon. They were like $40, and they've been awesome. I rode once with the stock pegs, and off they came. They were just horrible. So that's pretty much the only critiques I would have for the bike. Seat height is awesome for a beginner rider. It's about 35-inch seat height. And that's what another reason I got it. I'm not a tall guy. I'm pretty short. So I wanted something easy to ride, kind of, you know, easy to put my foot down, you know, because when you first learn how to ride a motorcycle, there's going to be a lot of oopsies. So, you know, you want to be able to dab your feet and put your feet down and catch yourself. And it's not a very secure feeling when you can't reach the ground. You're sitting on a bike and you're learning how to ride it to begin with. I was in dealerships and talked to salesmen and stuff like that, and man, they just want to sell you bikes, so they'll tell you, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. Once you're going, it doesn't matter if you can't touch the ground. And I'm like, man, I don't know how some of you people ride unless it's just open and flat. But if you're going up a hill or, you know, through some rocky, loose rock sections or in some deep sand and stuff like that, and you're going slow, you need to be able to put your feet down and touch the ground. So, you know, I understand motocross purposes, maybe not. You get on it and you just go and you huck it, so you send it. But that's not how you trail ride. You have to be able to reach the ground. So that was one of the biggest things, that deciding factors for me, was the seat height and the docile manner of this bike. Now that being said, am I going to keep this bike? The answer is no. This motorcycle is up for sale currently. I got it on Facebook Marketplace. If any of you viewers here are interested in it, this thing is virtually brand new. Super well maintained, as you guys can see. There's not even scratches on the plastics. It's absolutely mint. So got the handguards on it and some better grips, because stock grips on everything that I've ever bought have never been that good. So for comfort wise, those grips are nice. It's got nothing wrong with the bike. The bike's mint, and nothing's broken on it. Oil was just changed recently, so it's got maybe an hour on that oil change. So she's ready to go, ready to ride. I am selling it, and the reason I'm selling it is I'm going to get into that in another video, I'll be honest with you, because I want to make this video just about this bike, and if I recommend it, I don't want to drown it out with. We'll talk about the bike that's going to replace it in the next video. That bike will probably be here in about a week from today, I'm hoping. So if you guys have any guesses, you can leave them in the comments below what you think I'm getting. But I did already put a deposit on something, and I should be picking it up sometime next week. So leave guesses in the comments. If you have any idea, I'll bet you nobody guesses. But back to the Honda. Easy to maintain. Super easy to maintain, actually. You know, dump the oil. Oil filter is easily accessible, and I mean, it's literally a 5-minute oil change in this thing. You'll probably never have to touch the motor on this. These air-cooled Hondas last for absolutely forever. It's very, very easy to ride. Very easy to ride. If my daughter was tall enough and she could reach the ground, I would keep this bike for her. But she's like 5 foot, barely 5'1", and she can't touch the ground on this thing. So she needs like a 140 or a 125, something like that. So this bike, though, is great for an adult who just wants to cruise around and do some trail exploring, not get into anything crazy or not get too spunky with it. You find the limits of the suspension really quick if you try to ride it very aggressively. And now you can cruise at a very good pace on it, and it'll be fine if it's relatively flat. If you're cruising at a good speed and you hit some nice bumps, you're going to blow through the suspension fairly easy. The rear end will tend to buck you right up, so you do need to make sure you're standing up on the pegs. It's not a bike you can kind of sit down and cruise on if you're going fast and going through rough stuff. Other than that, I mean, if you ride it within its limits, it's a very good motorcycle. I'm not disappointed that I bought it. I don't think it was a bad investment. I got a killer deal on it. Now, if I would have walked into a dealership and, you know, they charged me MSRP plus all their fluff, you know, bullshit fees and this, that, and the other thing, it wouldn't have been a good purchase. I'd be losing my rear end on it right now selling it. But I'm into this bike for under MSRP out the door. So I'm gonna break even selling this thing. So any of you guys are interested, hit me up. I'll give you a great deal on it. Way cheaper than you're gonna pay at a dealership for a brand new one. This is still under warranty too, so if you're thinking about one of these and you're on the fence, I would say there's a couple of things to consider. What is your expectations? Where do you see yourself wanting to ride? And what are your long-term goals with motorcycling and dirt biking? If your goal is to learn how to ride a bike and you can get a good deal on one of these, great bike to learn on, get it, ride it for 6 months, a year, or whatever. That was my intention, honestly, keep it for about a year and then get into something else. But the way the market is right now, I got an absolutely stellar deal on a more performance-oriented bike, and something I think is going to be really cool for the channel. So that's the only reason I'm doing it now. Otherwise, I had no problems riding this thing. Rode it a week and a half ago, and this is the last time I rode it, and I haven't rode it since. So I'm putting it up for sale, so I don't want to put any more hours on it. Keep it nice and fresh for the new owner, hopefully. How long that takes to sell, and Mark's not hot right now, but we'll just tuck her in the corner and wait for its new home. But yeah, I mean, I recommend the bike. If your expectations are a trail machine, then it's probably the best one on the market. It's better than the Kawasaki 230, I think, by far. It's got a little bit of more suspension travel in it than the Kawasaki does, and you got a couple more horsepower than the Kawasaki. I can't imagine riding a bike with less power than this. It would just not be enjoyable. It'd be boring. This is borderline just enough to go out and not be like, can't get out of its own way. Like, it'll get up and go, but it's not going to do it fast. You know, you're not gonna blow the tires off the machine on this thing. So, which is good for an inexperienced rider like myself, because I said it in the videos that I recorded riding this, the ride videos on it. It's very easy to ride, and I'm thankful that this is what I learned on, and not some hopped up, bike that I whiskey throttle and kill myself, because I've had a couple close calls where, when you're a new rider, you panic and you're not, your instincts aren't all there and what to do in the right situation. So, yeah, but that being said, I'm getting a great deal on something else. And so I'm pulled the trigger on it. I'm going to pick that up next week. And then this sucker is for sale. So I'm probably going to do another video or two on it, though, comparing it to the new bike. And maybe something else I might have in mind for it. So it might not be the last time you see it on the channel, unless somebody wants to come by it this week. Then you won't see it. But if it sticks around a little bit, takes a while to sell, I may do another video or two on it, just comparing it to the bike I'm replacing it with. And yeah, so that is that. In terms of what it doesn't do good at all, I would just say the high-speed stuff. If you're doing fast stuff or want to jump it, it'll take small little step-ups, little rollers, little jumps. But you're not sending this thing, because I've blown through the suspension just hitting like a rut or a rock in the trail. It blows through the suspension travel on the forks. And then the rear shock is kind of weird. It's soft and bouncy. So you kind of, I've had the rear end buck on me a couple of times, hitting the bump fast. So it could use some suspension work. It would be nice if they did a little bit, I don't know, sprung it or valved it a little bit stiffer. I understand soft, but it's a little too soft in my opinion. And the bike I'm going to be replacing this with, that's actually also MO on that one. It's suspended really soft, but we'll get into that bike when we get that bike here. So to kind of wrap it up with this one, do I recommend it? Definitely. If you're looking for a trail bike that's easy to ride and you just want to go out and have some fun, you're not a tall guy or a tall gal, and I got about a 29-inch inseam. I'm like 5'6.5", and I fit on this bike pretty easily. I'll show you here. I'll hop on. So you'll see here I'm on the bike, and I'm about on the balls of my feet on both sides. So I can't flat foot it on both sides, but I put one foot on the peg And the bike's still straight up. I can flat foot it, no problem. So it's very easy in that regard for a short person. And I don't think that if you're, I'd say if you're 5'5", 5'6", this will be a good bike for you. The rear suspension does squat quite a bit when you sit on it. So that kind of helps in terms of reaching the ground too. But she is pretty bouncy. So yeah, so there's that. Gas tank, fuel mileage. While I'm looking at it, that reminds me of this thing. I went on like 3 rides before I added gas to it. And she still had like half a tank, so it sips fuel. I mean, it's really not thirsty at all, but it's a 250 air-cooled motor. It's not going to use a lot of gas, plus it's fuel injected, so it's very efficient. So, well, when I hop off it here, this reminded me, so in terms of the kickstand, some people complain about the kickstand, how it doesn't go up. You see on a lot of bikes, a lot of the enduro bikes, that the kickstand comes all the way up to here and down. This bike, it only comes up to here. I haven't had an issue with it. The heel of my foot does rub the spring sometimes. So I know there's a company out there that makes a different kickstand that eliminates the spring. It's like internally sprung kickstand, which would help if that's an issue for you. But I haven't had any problems in the short amount of time I've had it, and I don't think it's that big a deal. In terms of also with the maintenance, obviously anything that's chain driven, you have to adjust the chain periodically. What Honda did here on this is a little bit unique and different, but it's very easy to adjust the chain slack on here. So they show you right there what they want the slack to be. There's a sticker right on the swing arm. And then all you got to do is you got to loosen, you put a wrench on here, loosen the axle bolt on the other side, and the axle nut on the other side there, and you have these adjusters. And so that you do it the same on each side. If you got to tighten it, you just click it up once, and you'll see there's numbers on it. And there's little notches there. And you just roll up that dial 1 notch each side, check it, do 1 more notch if you have to, and boom, she's good. Tighten the axle nut to torque it to spec, and that's it. Super easy. Actually, when I brought it home, it was actually too tight. I had to loosen it a notch, so did that. And suspension-wise, you'll give you a look at that rear shock. You'll see it's a Showa shock. It's nothing fancy though. It's about the same as the Showa shocks on my son's 250X quad. Zero adjustability though. You can adjust the preload, but it's really hard to get to. I don't think they really designed it to be adjusted because it's hard to get to the adjuster in there. Front shocks have zero adjustability at all. You can't even adjust the preload on the springs. There's a company that makes new fork caps that you can replace, and then you can crank them down and it'll add a little preload to the spring. Some people do that. It's like a cheap fix to add a little spring preload to it. I don't know how good they work. I don't know too many people that have done that. Usually people go the revalving route, but even that, you're only going to get so good with these forks. They're just for what they are. But good trail bike, reliable. If you want something just to buy once and be done, it'll last forever. This is the bike to buy. If you're just slow trail cruising, not doing nothing gnarly, and you don't care about, huge suspension travel, and I think it's about 9.5 inches on this, 9.5 in the front, or 9.5 in the back, 9.1 in the front, or 8.9 in the front, something like that. I know one of them's got a ½ inch. I think the front's got a ½ inch less than the rear for some reason. Tires have been, they're okay. They're a little hard, I think. And I hit the pavement a little bit, and you'll see they're still square on both sides. So they're Pirelli Scorpion XCs, and they're the mid hard. I think if it was just like a medium compound, it'd be perfect. The mid hard, it's on the edge of being too hard, and the front tire is actually a DOT tire. So I do feel like the front wants to wash out a little bit pretty easily, and I think that might have something to do with the tire. So, but I don't know much about dirt bikes, so I'm very new to this. So I could be wrong, but I don't think the front tire is the best. And the rear tire is good, but I think it's a little hard for what I ride out here. The ground is hard out here. I think I need something medium compoundish in that realm. It does pretty good in soft stuff. When you get to the hard pack, It gets a little squirrely because there's just not a lot of grip. So, and there's a lot of hard pack here. So I think the tires could be better. The rear tire is skinny too on this bike. It's only a 100. A lot of the bigger bikes do 110 to 140 even on some of them in the rear, and just for more traction. But I think the reason why they put a skinny tire on the back of this is just because it's not a lot of power, so you're going to lose a lot of horsepower with a big fatty in the back. This is just a lot easier for that little motor to turn, and that's what you got. So you have a skinnier contact patch, but you're not losing all the horsepower trying to turn and push a big tire through the ground, across the ground, I should say. So I think that'll wrap it up on this one. I think that pretty much sums up what this is. A good trail bike. Don't expect nothing more from it. It is what it is. It's a trail bike, and that's why they advertise it that way. They don't advertise it that way to trick you, and just a wink and a nod and say, "Oh, we advertise as a trail bike," but it's really a lot more. It's not more. It's a trail bike. That is what you're getting from this. So go into it with that expectation, and you will absolutely love this thing. If you're looking to motocross and you're looking to jump and you're looking to hit whoops real fast, this is not the bike for you. So that being said, this is Joe at Odyssey Off-Road. Stick around and see what the new dirt bike is we're getting. And smash the thumbs up button on your way out if this video was helpful at all for you. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't and you want to see more content. Plenty more dirt bike content, especially with the new bike coming. We've got a ton of stuff on that. And then obviously we got all the ATVs. We got the brand new Raptor right there. We took on its first ride in the last video. So check that out if you haven't seen it. And then that's it. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you made it this far. I appreciate you. This is Joe at Odyssey Off-Road. Catch you on the next one.